One college football expert thinks the Oklahoma Sooners are very underrated for 2025.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year over at monarchmoney.com. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel over on YouTube. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire at USA Today Sports. You can read my work over there. And Jay, Josh Pate, college football analyst of the Josh Pate College Football Show, Experience, Extravaganza, whatever you want to call it. It's all good. It's all good times. He's looking at Oklahoma for 2025 and asking the question, are they one of the more underrated teams? He had them at number 10 in his spring power rankings, not his ratings, but his rankings for the 2025 season. What do you have to make of what Josh Pate thinks of Oklahoma?
Yeah, John, Josh really takes time to actually look beyond just the paper, just beyond, the initial depth chart and all of that. And he in his quote, he made one thing that really jumped out to me is that you don't hit the pause button in December and then hit play in August. There's a lot of changes that happens in the middle, and Oklahoma had a lot of things that they needed to actually fix. And to be honest, John, I think they fixed it. They went and got some offense, got a couple offensive linemen that they liked, and Derek Simmons as well as Jake Michaela, which we feel like will probably be some solid contributors. True freshman Michael Fasusi, I expect him on the field very soon. Same thing with Ryan Fogier. They both have the body and build already to be in the SEC, which is pretty massive. But then you got a quarterback, you got a running back. The offense was your problem, and it appears that Oklahoma fixed a lot of that. And that was really what Josh Pate's emphasis was, and why he is very bullish with the Oklahoma Sooners, is that everything that you're supposed to have, that you needed fixed, you went and got fixed. Shouldn't that count for something?
Yeah, I think it's got to count for something, because you not only did you fix a couple glaring holes that you might have had, but you improved your quarterback situation with an experienced dude, with an offensive coordinator that he's very, very familiar with, in an offense he's very, very familiar with. And you are bringing back some talented wide receivers. I know that Deion Burks missed a lot of the 2024 season. He is still a very talented wide receiver. You added impressive wide receiver talents to go along with him. Now it's just a matter of making sure that you got guys that can block up front, and you did that. And you're bringing back a healthy unit. Again, we've said it all offseason. We've said it after spring ball ended up. The best news that you got out of spring ball was that all of your projected offensive linemen made it through it unscathed. You didn't have guys that were having to miss 2 weeks of spring ball because they were injured, they were dinged up. No, that group got to develop together, and they got to work together and build that chemistry and that cohesion.
Yeah.
Now, as they go into summer workouts and into fall camp, they're still healthy and working together and building that camaraderie. And that is going to go a long way to helping that offensive line be much, much better, so that as you're looking at that two deep and you're talking about guys like Fasusi and Fogier getting playing time, well, it's because they're going to have to push veterans on the roster to earn opportunities. It's not like they're going to have to be thrusted into an opportunity just because guys are banged up and dinged up. And that's going to make such a big difference. But the other thing that Josh Pate has pointed out is that the defense is still going to be really good.
Yep.
Even though you lost key contributors like Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman, and Ethan Downs, Dejon Terry, and Woody Washington, you bring back a ton of talent. You added an incredible talent in Marvin Jones Jr. You added an athletic phenomenon in Kendall Daniels. The defense looks really, really good again. Now you just need an offense that can go and be competent and play complementary ball with them.
I think what fascinates me is that Oklahoma is still considered underrated, like in any capacity. If you look at the nuance behind everything and you paid attention to kind of how things went down last year, pretty much an anomaly. That doesn't happen very often. Brent Venables walks in and for the most part guts the roster, but he didn't bring it back to the studs like he needed to. He kept and retained a lot of players that, to me, year one, he probably should have went ahead and pushed out and did the Coach Prime Colorado refresh. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to give him a chance. He basically told everybody, I'm going to give you the opportunity to play, and if you're good enough, you can stick around. Then you saw year two, a lot of people moved on. But then after that, you saw going into year three, especially on the offensive line, you saw so many dudes bounce out, and a lot of them didn't really play at the places they landed. So you realize the talent discrepancy that the Oklahoma students had at that time. And then last season, yeah, super young, but injured. And once those injuries really went down, John, I think that's when you recognize, okay, Oklahoma has talent, but they need to figure out how to get this health thing going. And I do believe this year we shouldn't be anywhere near as injured as we were last year. And if that's the case, with a quarterback like John Mateer, it's a good chance you're going to make progress forward.
Well, and you look at what they lost along the offensive line through the transfer portal after last season, and Josh Bates is, to me, the only guy that played significant snaps for you last year.
Yeah.
You know, you kept everybody else. You kept Jacob Sexton and Jake Taylor. You kept, Heath Ozida and Logan Howland. And then you added to it. You supplemented what you had, these good, young, promising offensive linemen, and then you added talent to it to build up that competitive depth to where you can continue to develop those guys, but you have veterans that you feel like you can be at least have some insurance with. Now, and a lot of it's going to come back to John Mateer. I mean, I think a lot of the buzz that Oklahoma is getting is because John Mateer is that guy. He's a dude that's going to be really, really good. How good? We'll see. Will he be so good that he can, carry Oklahoma to the college football playoff? We'll find out. But I think they're going to be a team that's going to be in position when they get to November where they have a shot, man. And I think a lot of it comes back to what we've said about the schedule for this year. And it goes back to what Josh Pate said. It's like, you can't just take what happened in 2024 and extrapolate it out to 2025. These teams are very, very different in the SEC that Oklahoma is going to face. Ole Miss is going to look completely different to the team that Oklahoma was leading at halftime in Oxford last year. Is like Oklahoma is a better team than they were in Oxford last year when they were leading at halftime. Ole Miss to me is not as good of a team.
And they have a lot of pieces that Austin Simmons is going to be his first time as the number one starter. They went and got 3 quarterbacks out of the portal because they had a backup that was hurt. So yeah, when you look at the schedule itself, the questions really are who's bringing in a quarterback that you should be concerned about. I still believe Arch Manning should be of concern only because he's been with Sarkisian for 3 years, but he doesn't have that many 20-something snaps. It's not a lot of snaps to have over the last couple of years. And, I gas up John Mateer because he's similar to Arch, is in his third year in his OC's, in his quarterback coach's system, but he also put up over 3,000 yards passing in said system. So he knows he probably knows it inside out, and he's able to teach it. So that's where your big difference comes into play. That's where you got to really look at the nuance behind it. And so going through the schedule and seeing everyone at Oklahoma's face, I mean, you really only got 1-2 experienced quarterbacks coming back with their same system, and Lenore Sellers as well as Garrett Nussmeier. That's really it if you really dive into it, right, John? Who else should you really be afraid of? Now, returning production wise, we can go through those numbers. I can't wait until the spring ones drop, which I think that Bill Connolly probably drops them in the next couple of weeks. But until we actually see, what that number is on returning production for current players and then transfers, Oklahoma's still going to be at the top of the list.
Yeah, and that's not to say that these teams are going to be bad by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't think that they're ahead of Oklahoma or that they're even light years ahead of Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's put themselves in a position to be as good as anybody that they face on their schedule. Now, will they go win those games? That's why you play the games.
Yep.
We'll have schedule predictions and breakdowns throughout the summer, and we'll give you our final schedule prediction as we get closer to the season. But I mean, what's not to like about where Oklahoma sits right now compared to the competition? And we also got to like where Oklahoma sits currently in the quarterback recruiting for 2026. We'll discuss that coming up next. We'll also discuss Oklahoma making the super regionals for the 15th consecutive season coming up in the third segment. So stick around for that. We'll discuss all that coming up here on Locked On Sooners. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year over at monarchmoney.com. Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, the Oklahoma Sooners, we know, are really battling for quarterbacks in the 2026 recruiting class. They've got Jaden O'Neal committed. He's been committed since last summer, stayed committed through the offensive coordinator transition, but has been taking visits to Georgia, to Florida State. We know Auburn is in pursuit as well. But the Oklahoma Sooners, under Ben Arbuckle as the offensive coordinator, have also offered Bo Bentley. Well, over the weekend, he has named his final two in his recruitment. Comes down to LSU and the Oklahoma Sooners, Jay. You're muted, my friend.
Glad you pointed that out, John. We'll leave that blooper in. We thought that Georgia had a really good shot at Bo Bentley, but then they got Jared Curtis, and it doesn't appear that Georgia is in the need of getting a second quarterback in this class, so they're officially out of the Bo Bentley sweepstakes, and so he named Oklahoma and LSU as his final two. He'll visit Oklahoma on the 13th of June, and then he'll do LSU on the 20th as of right now. And so if Oklahoma's going to win this one, they're going to have to go ahead and toss put their best foot forward on the 13th. And as of now, he is the only 2026 player on the calendar for the 13th. So we'll see how that goes. It's very interesting to see that Oklahoma does not have a lot of players on that list, but I'm glad to see that it's starting to slowly wind down. I expect him to have his commitment done here in June. What sources have told me is that he's mulling them both, but it's going to happen here in June.
Well, and I think maybe it was Steve Wiltfong he talked to, that he said he wants to be involved in peer recruiting. He wants to be an active participant in what his program is doing on the recruiting trail. And that makes sense. And so having that commitment done in June will allow him to be a part of these bigger official visit weekends. The fact that maybe he's the only guy on campus for that June 13th weekend, to me, it says Oklahoma is going to put forth the full court press on him, and they want all their guys, all of their resources available to recruit him, but then have him available to come back maybe for Champ U barbecue if they're able to earn his commitment. So I think there's, some strategery here, but you know that Oklahoma and Ben Arbuckle, they love Bo Bentley. They want to make him a part of the class. It doesn't necessarily mean that Jaden O'Neal won't be a part of the class. It just means that they also really, really value Bo Bentley and what he does. He's a dynamic dual threat quarterback. He's a guy that can sling the ball like crazy, and he can run like crazy. He's a very, very good runner. He's a multi-sport athlete, plays lacrosse, plays soccer. So he's very athletic, and he's going to be able to make some things happen with his legs. He's a top 10 quarterback in the class. The lowest rating he's got is with Rivals, who's got him at number 10 as the number 10 quarterback in the class. But he's considered a top 50 prospect, according to On3, number 79 in the nation, according to 247 Sports. So, I mean, this is a big time recruitment that Oklahoma is going after. And will they land him? We'll see. It seemed like they were in a good position to be in this as soon as they offered. But you've got to worry about LSU. They're going to be bringing a big time pitch because they've done some really nice things with quarterbacks over the last 6 years or so. Dating back to Joe Burrow and then going with Jaden Daniels and now Garrett Nussmeier. They've got a lot of quarterback cachet on the recruiting trail right now.
A bunch of it.
And they're going to have good wide receivers. You just know that.
Yeah. Good and healthy ones now. You'll have a lot of them that Emmett Jones is focused on getting some consistency. You've noticed that they're going after guys with size. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a big thing. And, quarterbacks like guys that can throw it up to and let them go get it sometimes. And that is kind of the focus for Oklahoma. And so hopefully, this whole saga comes to a conclusion within the next couple of weeks. I know Jaden O'Neal visits early. I think his final visit is Florida State. You have, and then Bo Bentley coming in on the 13th. You got to, lock. If you're going to go for 2, you got to go ahead and get locked up. But John, it does appear that Oklahoma is dead set on getting a second quarterback, and I think they've waved the white flag on the idea of them landing both Jaden O'Neal and Bo Bentley. I say that because they gave an offer out to a viral sensation quarterback in Jackson Fields. All right, calm down. Put your headphones back on. Put them back in. Come on, put it back in. I know you're losing your mind because you heard the word Jackson. Okay, I get it. But the kid's pretty solid. He is out of Destrehan, Louisiana, which is like an unincorporated community right outside of Keller. So he's not too far from New Orleans. A Louisiana boy. I know, right? Somehow Oklahoma's going to steal somebody from Louisiana. We've done it before. It's very uncommon. We've done it before, but it doesn't appear that LSU has been heavy in the recruitment with him. But LSU, Alabama, and Oklahoma have all three offered him a camp invite to come throw for them, and so he'll be at Oklahoma the first weekend of OV weekends, actually the 5th, and so he's going to come out and do some throwing at the camp. And if he lights it up, and watching some of the tape of him, John, I think he has a good chance of it. I see Oklahoma giving this man an offer, man, and if that's the case, based upon someone I talked to, he really likes Oklahoma. If he gets the offer, there's a good chance he's going to lock it down.
Well, he looks like a guy like Bo Bentley, and he plays like a guy like John Matier. I mean, another dynamic dual threat that can throw on the move and has good size to him. We'll see. And this, again, feels like a Ben Arbuckle, Jim Nagy special,
Yep.
Bo Bentley wasn't getting a ton of buzz until he went to the Under Armour or the All-American Bowl, one of those. But prior to that, it felt like Oklahoma was kind of in the mix there, but really started pursuing him after the All-American Bowl. And they're just finding these guys that haven't been rated but are about to kind of set the world on fire. Like, this is one of those kids, this Jackson Fields. He might not be rated now, but by the end of the 2026 cycle, he will certainly have several stars, if not 4 of them, next to his name, because that offer sheet's about to blow up. And not every kid is going to be unearthed early in the recruiting process.
That's how it works.
There are hundreds of thousands of high school football players across the country, and these recruiting outlets can only watch so many of them. And they're definitely going to prioritize particular areas of the country. Texas, Florida, California are going to be getting a lot of the buzz. And even in Louisiana, some of those kids are going to fly under the radar. Giovanni Gibson was one of them. Jermichael Carter was another one. And now we're starting to see, oh, hey, look, there's a little bit of talent that's not getting noticed in Louisiana. And Jackson Fields might be another one.
Yeah, based upon the talent and watching him, he does remind me. He feels like a John Mateer special, so that would be something you would definitely find from like a Ben Arbuckle. And then, of course, Jim Nagy, being the GM, probably looked at it and said, "Yep, I see the traits. It's probably worth our time to get him to camp to come and throw." And if he comes to the camp and he shows out, again, he's going to get that offer, and Oklahoma may have a chance of locking it down. Now, that's when things get very interesting, because then at that point, still have Jaden O'Neal listed on there. Does Jaden decommit as soon as Bo Bentley comes in and Fields comes in as another quarterback? It's a good question, but I can tell you this. Oklahoma definitely wants 2 quarterbacks in this class in preparation for next season.
And we're going to see what they do. And we'll continue to cover this recruiting saga here on Locked On Sooners. So make sure you're tuned in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. We got to discuss the Super Sooners. Once again, Oklahoma ruled their way through the Norman Regional. We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Oklahoma Sooners went 3-0 in the Norman Regional, beating Boston and Cal ×2, outscoring their opponents 31-3, winning by run rule 3 times to advance to the Super Regionals, where they will face the Alabama Crimson Tide. It is the 15th consecutive season in which they have made the Super Regional. If you don't recall, the 2020 season was canceled due to COVID. So if you're looking at the dates and you're looking at the years and like, wait, where's that 2020? That's why. But 15 consecutive seasons in which the NCAA tournament was played, the Oklahoma Sooners have made the Super Regional. Just an incredible streak. You see across the first weekend of college softball, the number 1 team lost, another top 16 seed lost, and there are others that really had to go the wire to survive regional weekend to advance to Super Regionals.
It's crazy to see Oklahoma, like I said, 15 years consecutively going into the Super Regionals, and then from there, good chance we're going to see them going down come back to Oklahoma City, because I think this team, even young, is still so talented, and they may be head and shoulders more talented above than the competition. And it's funny because them and A&M tied for the SEC championship, and then A&M gets eliminated. Didn't even make it to Super Regionals. That is bananas to me. So, Sooners having a number 2 seed, they've got a lot of little angst on their back for the fact they was disrespected going into this tournament, and now they get to show it off. I'm pretty impressed with the fact that they won 3 games by 3 run rules. They want to get in and get out, so that's how you handle business. Not waiting in line. No, they get what they want and they walked out. So I expect Oklahoma to keep that going in the Super Regionals. Do you know who they pulled for that?
Yep. So they'll play Alabama, which is a good opportunity for a little bit of redemption.
Gotta get some
they
revenge.
lost the season series to the Crimson Tide down in Tuscaloosa. So now Oklahoma gets them on their field up at Love's Field in Norman for this one. So again, a good opportunity to get a little bit of retribution for that series loss. Now, this team is playing different ball now than what they were playing back then. That was like those 2 series in a row against Alabama and against Tennessee where they just were not hitting very well. And they weren't very attacking. They weren't very it just nothing was really coming together. And Patty Gasso kind of went into them a little bit and said and demanded they be better. And they've gotten better since then. But since NCAA tournament plays began and even dating back into the SEC tournament, the offense has been rolling, man. They've been humming. And in this series in particular, Cassidy Pickering, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, especially over the last 2 games. Gabby Garcia, the true freshman, just coming in aggressive at the plate. I've loved watching her disposition at the plate. She's coming up hacking, man. She is not sitting back, letting pitchers get into friendly counts. She's coming up and being aggressive. And man, you love to see that, given it's your first NCAA tournament and you're coming out, and I mean, she leads the team in home runs for a reason. She's got 18 home runs on the season, had 2 more over the weekend. Just another really, really great series. But Sam Landry, dude, she started all 3 games. She only went 4 innings in one of those. It was the first game against Cal on Saturday, but she just did her job. And then the bullpen came in and was really, really good. The bullpen gave up no runs, whether it was Kirsten Deal or Audrey Lowry or Peyton Monticelli or Isabella Smith. They were all just shut down. It was awesome.
That's the crazy part, John, and that was the one thing that everybody had fears, especially after what was that? Was that the Texas match?
Yep,
they were up
Texas
8-0.
game.
Yeah, it's Texas. Yeah, up 8-0, and then you bring in a young arm, and unfortunately get cooked in that game.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that's a good thing. Sometimes you need to go through that adversity. You need to get them used to and accustomed to understanding how to rally back to get a W. The offense eventually got to the point and they get the dub. But having a young arm kind of struggle, but don't pull them immediately. Patty does a great job of doing that. I've seen her do that with a few other players, that she doesn't pull them out immediately when they're struggling, gives them a chance to try to work their way through it. And that's how you're going to develop players, especially when your team is young, because this is a quote unquote rebuild team.
Yeah.
And it's more of a retool, and it's an adjusting team in comparison to last year's, one of the greatest 4-year run for those players. This one is starting to build itself up to try to go and chase that same thing. And so getting down to Super Regionals in their final 16, there's a good chance they can. So I'll be tuned in this weekend.
Yeah, you were talking about that Texas game, and Audrey Lowry was the one that came in with that 8-0 lead. She gives up 5 runs. Well, since that, she's gone 6 1/3, hasn't allowed a run. Over her last 3 appearances, I don't think she's allowed a hit.
That's what you needed.
And so
experience works. Yeah, the experience can
game
work.
might have been terrible, but
Yeah, it was
something
so bad,
has clicked after that, and she's really humming right now. And Landry, being able to go in and start all 3 games. She gave up 2 runs in the first game to Cal, and she gave up an unearned run in Sunday's win over Cal. But I mean, she was just balling like Sam Landry does, giving them an opportunity to get a lead and then making that lead stand up. And then Patty Gasso going to the bullpen, being able to not overextend Landry in those games, not have to have her throw all 5 innings, and setting themselves up for now. She gets to wait till Thursday at the earliest, but possibly Friday, where she gets all this rest now. And she wasn't overextended. She threw 10 innings in 3 games. So just a masterful job by Patty Gasso and Jennifer Rocha for how they managed the pitching staff. And then just the lineup, everybody in the lineup just participating and contributing, whether it was, true freshmen or veterans on the roster. It's been awesome to see them turn it on since postseason play began.
Yeah. And that's what you want to see from your young players. Rise to the occasion, get out there and figure it out and get the W. And so I think that this team is poised to make another run, John. I don't want to jinx them too much, but after we just saw the number 1 team get knocked off, which is still funny, I wonder if Greg Sankey, Papa Sankey, has looked at this and said, I think I need to take this cold title thing off and just give it to the better team, which the better team is the one that is now headed to the Super Regionals, while the other one that was a pseudo or assumed better gets eliminated by Liberty.
Man, it just goes to show that, you don't always know, and don't doubt the Oklahoma Sooners and Patty Gasso.
Exactly.
They just came out and they just took care of business. There was no real threat in any of these games. I think maybe at one point it was 1-1. It might've been 1-1 in a game, or maybe not. I might be making that up. I think Oklahoma got up 1-0, and then they went up 4-0 in that game on Saturday. And on Sunday, again, they gave up a run that made it, I want to say it made it 5-1 or 4-1. And then Oklahoma proceeded to put up 8 runs in an inning and just run away with the thing. So I'm done doubting Oklahoma. They're young. Yeah, they might have some pitching concerns, but I've seen that team. The year that it was Hope Troutwine, or Giselle Juarez that were the frontline pitchers for this team. those pitching staffs weren't great. They were good. They were good enough, but they had really good lineups to go along with it and made it. And they got enough outs. And as long as this team gets enough outs and they keep hitting the way that they're hitting, they're going to go deep in this thing. And again, I'm done doubting them. I'm done doubting Patty Gasso. I'm not going to, will they win it all? I don't know, man. That's why they go play the games. They've got as good a chance as anybody to go win this all. They really do.
They do. 100%.
Matchups are going to matter. Who they end up playing in the Women's College World Series, if they get that far, it's going to matter. But I'm a believer. This young team isn't playing like a young team at all.
Yeah, they're playing like some veterans, or they're playing like some who've gone through adversity and understands what they need to do to get past it. And I'm glad to see it. They're calming down. They're like, okay, let's get my pitch in front of me and go after it. Pitchers are taking their time, like, all right, let me get the throws that I know are going to get me some results. You see, it's like a hush came over the crowd. And pretty impressive.
Well, what's really interesting about this is you can go back to whether it's Jocelyn Alo's true freshman season or Tiara Jennings or Jada Coleman, or even last year with Ella Parker and Cassidy Pickering. You had true freshmen playing significant roles on these teams, these championship teams, even when there were veterans, these true freshmen coming up clutch and being big time contributors where they're not having to wait their turn just because they're true freshmen. No, Gabby Garcia, a true freshman, Nellie McEnroe Marinas, a redshirt freshman, they're coming up clutch and they're not sitting back like, no, I'm going to let the veterans. No, they're leading from the front as true freshmen. And that is incredibly impressive. So excited to see what they do against Alabama next weekend in the Norman Super Regional. There'll be 3 games if needed, but hopefully Oklahoma gets in, gets out, and knocks them out in 2, and then advances to the Women's College World Series once again. But again, it's going to be a big test. Alabama's a good team, but Oklahoma is definitely capable of advancing to Oklahoma City for another chance at a national title. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John 9 Williams. And you can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner. Yeah, they're definitely going past Super Regionals. I just need them in OKC so I can go to a game.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Back to their home in Devon Park.